Good morning, everyone. This is the regular monthly open meeting of the Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, and it's 9:30 a.m. We are here live in the boardroom as well as available for viewing on TV6, Zoom, and Granicus. I'd like to request those in the room, including board directors, to silence their phones if they haven't already. See that we have a quorum, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll start today's meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Director Jim Cook. Jim?
Everybody stand. Repeat with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jim. It's now time to approve our agenda for today. Can I get a motion to approve today's agenda? SK moves, David seconds. Thank you. Any suggested changes to today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll consider the agenda approved by consent. Moving on to agenda item 4, we're looking to approve the meeting minutes for two different meetings. Our last board meeting and our last agenda prep meeting. We try to address them collectively. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the two meetings outlined in our agenda package? SK again, David again, thank you. I'll look to the right next time first. Does anyone have any suggested corrections or changes to either of them?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we'll consider them approved by consent as well. We're now on to agenda item 5, which is the report of the chair. For my chair remarks today, I'd just simply like to remind everybody to vote in the upcoming election for third board directors so that you can select the 3 candidates you feel will best represent you on the third board. Last Friday, there was a Meet the Candidates forum where the 5 candidates answered questions and shared their thoughts about Third Mutual and what they do if they were on the third board. If you missed seeing that forum, it will be replayed on TV6 on Tuesday, August 27th, on Wednesday, September 4th, and on Tuesday, September 24th. Questions that the candidates answered included why they're running for the third board, what they'd like to accomplish if they were elected, their thoughts on the Building E replacement project, and their thoughts on the current effort to recall 2 GRF board directors. Election ballots will be mailed out next Tuesday, a week from today, August 27th. Be sure to return your completed ballot no later than Thursday, September 26th, in one of 2 ways. You can mail your completed ballot to the Unelect Inspector of Elections in the return envelope that comes with the ballot. If you mail it, it needs to be mailed in time for it to be received at the Inspector of Elections post office box by 11 a.m. on Thursday, September 26th. Alternatively, you can drop your completed ballot into the ballot box, which will be located in the community center lobby by 5 p.m. on Thursday, September 26th. Sorry, the way I just read that, the ballot box won't be put there by Thursday, September 26th. The ballot box will be put there next week, or next week or so, but you need to drop it off by 5 p.m. on Thursday, September 26th. The ballots will be counted and the election results will be announced during the special third open board tabulation meeting on Friday, September 27th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom. And I'm hoping that everyone will all participate and vote. And that's all I have for today. As always, thanks for listening and thanks for your support. I'll now move on to agenda item 6, which is our open forum. At this time, members may address the board of directors regarding items within the jurisdiction of this board of directors and not on the agenda. The board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. Each member is asked to speak for no more than 3 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum, and speakers may not give their time to other people. Members not in the boardroom can also share their comments by joining this meeting via Zoom or by emailing your comments to meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during this open forum, should time permit. And with that, Michaela, do we have any requests for speakers today?
Yes, we have 2 in person and then I believe 4 emails to read following. So we'll start with the in-person speakers, and the first one is Cheryl Fennick.
going to ask you about the recall. I'm going to ask you not to recall the two GRF board members. I think the process and the specific is egregious, and I think it's because of lack of transparency. I'm kind of appalled at it. The recall started. How it did, I don't know, but it started. And then, so you had a recall without cause. No transparency. Then it was on the board agenda to vote on it. You voted on it without discussion. No transparency. Now you have a secret meeting, or secret ballot meeting on the 5th. No transparency. I think that the majority of what you're to do is us, as the residents. And to be governed by no transparency is kind of appalling to me. I understand there's fiduciary information. I understand there's other things we can't know, and I'm okay with that. I get it. But not to know why you're recalling someone is unacceptable to me. You know, there's a saying that says, people who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Now, I don't know how long you guys have been residents here, but there was an incident in the past where you recalled 2 GRF board members. It was pretty horrendous. And I used to and still go to a lot of the board members, and I thought these 2 women, Catherine and Mary, were magnificent. They were everything you want as a board member: professional, transparent, direct, and knowledgeable, and critical thinking. And somebody had decided that they didn't like what they believed, and they started a recall. As it turned out, illegally, and when they sued and they won, that was a deficit of $200,000. I can't even get $100 approved for a stop sign coming out of the building, but $200,000 loss was okay with everybody. The other aspect is that it took time away. All this illegalities of it took time away from you guys doing the good jobs that you want to do and while you're sitting there. And also, what it did is it made those 2 fabulous people very ill physically because of the stress related to it. And what I don't understand is these 2 JRF board members have only 1 year left. Did they kill somebody? Did they steal money? I mean, what egregious act that they did that you're going to go through this recall process? They're going to be gone in a year. Bye-bye, and that's the end of it. In conclusion, I'll get 26 minutes later. I'm asking you to independently think about each one and the aspect of recall for governing and the future of it, because it's pretty horrendous. Any one of you can look at your neighbor and say, I don't like what he thinks. I think I'll recall him. It's not good governing, guys. Not at all. And I'm praying and hoping you make independent, good decisions on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next in-person speaker is Joshua Sue.
I have a 2-page prepared statement because there's a lot of information to go through. I didn't want to get disorganized here. Dear members of the board, my name is Joshua Shu. Jennifer Shu is my wife, and she is the building captain of 3243 San Amadeo building. It's a 24-unit garden villa building, and we live in Unit 1H. I'm here to talk to you about a problem resident that we have in our building who lives in Unit 3H, directly above from us. Just to give you a brief background, about 7 years ago, I'm going to name this person Lady X, in our building. She moved in to be the caretaker of an ailing wife of an elderly resident that lives in 3H. The wife passed away about 5 years ago. And she later married this elderly resident. This decision, the family members of the gentleman was very, very much against it, but it happened. This elderly resident passed away in April of 2024. I understand his family members are now in litigation with her. Lady X is a source of nuisance and harassment for a number of building residents. Jennifer and I get the brunt of it. 2 previous building captains quit, partially because they were both tired of dealing with this resident X, Lady X. Attempts by building residents, including my wife and I, to talk with her are typically met with verbal attacks and retaliation. We suspect she may need psychological help. Numerous HOA security officers recommended for us to stay away from her and to always call HOA security for future issues. At least 2 HOA security officers have suggested we get a restraining order against her. One security officer mentioned that he will get social services involved and recommended for us to attend this meeting today to make the HOA board aware of the situation. Jennifer had been informed by HOA staff, maintenance, resident services, compliance, all these different departments, that this lady exits years of excessive watering of her potted plants on the floor and on the railings in front of her unit has caused damage to the walkway and metal railings on the 3rd floor of the building. And of course, below. The rust-stained water from the 3rd floor drips down to the 1st floor where we live, causing rust stains on the floor. The 1st floor breezeway was resurfaced less than a year ago, ahead of schedule, partially because of the water damage resulting from the watering. We are now seeing dark stains again on the 1st floor below her unit, less than a year after the resurfacing. As my time is up.
It is, and appreciate you bringing this to our attention. I don't know that I'd heard of the situation, so I will definitely look into it. Thank you.
The first email is from Chris Collins, and she stated, "This is an update on the work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village on behalf of residents experiencing temporary financial emergency. Thank you to all the clubs who submitted proposals for the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village's Good Neighbor Project. The many club proposals submitted all reflect a goal of strengthening our community, fostering social connections, and celebrating being a good neighbor. The 5 clubs selected for implementation and funding will be publicly announced in August. You may be wondering why the Foundation initiated this project. In brief, this project reflects the Foundation's commitment to improving the overall well-being of the village. Since the pandemic, there's an often overlooked problem affecting older adults. Loneliness, and the village is not exempt. Loneliness is pervasive, stemming from social isolation, fear, and limited social interaction and support during the pandemic. Loneliness has become an increasing problem, particularly for older adults. About 50% of adults report feelings of loneliness. Loneliness is also harmful, according to Dr. Vivek Murthy, the United States Surgeon General. In quote, "The mortality impact of being socially disconnected is similar to that caused by smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day, and even greater than that associated with obesity and physical inactivity." 2 well-known U.S. health agencies have reported that loneliness is now a problem that has reached epidemic levels and can lead to dementia, stroke, depression, and premature death. Why should we be concerned about loneliness in Laguna Woods Village? Because loneliness disproportionately affects older adults. First, many village residents live alone, some without family or without family nearby. Second, limited mobility, financial pressures, and physical ailments limit many older adults' ability to connect and socialize with others. Third, many older adults are still fearful of COVID and limit their social activities. What can we do about combating loneliness right here in the village? Clearly, there are no simple answers, but it is an issue worth examining. How can we create more meaningful connections among residents? How can we ensure residents who feel isolated and disconnected can reach out for help? What everyday activities can we foster that create greater connections among residents? In looking at these questions, the Foundation decided to take a first step with the Good Neighbor Project. For more information about the Foundation, please go to foundationoflagunawoodsvillage.org. You can contact the Foundation at 949-268-2246 or thefoundation@comline.com. Next email is a very short email. It's from Fred Sherman, and they stated, "I am opposed to the recall of 2 GRF directors as a waste of time and money." The next email is from Kimberly Lakes, and they stated, "Dear association members, we are let me see. can't read that one. The next one is from Steve Stanfill. He stated, in to Third Mutual directors, in short, no on the GRF recall. Your request for a corporate members meeting to recall James Hopkins and Yvonne Horton is inappropriate, a distraction, and creates nothing but more turmoil and delay on effectively governing this community. You have not held any open discussion, exchange, or opportunity for input by third residents. This type of action is not leadership or open governing for the residents, but it is direct neglect of your basic responsibilities as directors. What are you hiding? What is your hidden agenda? As an 11-year resident of the community, I have witnessed similar actions in the past that created nothing more than division, disrespect, and added expense for residents, while delaying critical operational decisions. Corporate structure, guidelines, rules, and protocol provide the needed directions and steps to effectively manage without such disruption as a recall. You need to stop this action and move on. And that is all for open forum. And I do have one email for agenda item 10A that I'll read at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any responses from board members regarding the comments today? All right. Move.
Yeah. The building captain come in, and then security people are involved, and then the problem is continued, whatever reason is, and then it aggravates more because now there are water damage. And so not only the 3H, but there will be water damaging trickle down to all the way down. So then they can solve the problem, so they come to board to appeal or try to please do something for us or solve this problem. What can we do? We got to do something for them, not only for the Mr. Su, but the whole building, and then 2 other previous building captain quit because of that. So this is nuisance problem as well as moisture problem, damage problem, and the obedience of all the rules and security people and all that. Is there anything we can do?
I am gathering the facts at the moment, and I will hopefully be able to share them with the board later this morning.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing, is we need to get more information, see what has happened, what has gone on, what, all the security folks have said, and that kind of thing. So we'll in that process already, and we'll see what we can do.
Sven, can you up-to-date it for us or post whatever is going on?
Absolutely. Just please let me get all the facts together, and I'll share them.
Thank you very much.
Okay, right. Thanks. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, board. We'll now move on to agenda item 8, which is a CEO report. Siobhan, good
Thank
morning.
you, President Laws. Honorable members of the board, it's my privilege this morning to share some key community updates with you. I wanted to start with the Clubhouse 1 reopening status. The project remains on budget and on schedule for completion at the end of August. The tentative timeline we have set is for recreation to begin moving back in September 3rd, and we are looking for a September 16th soft reopening. This will give us a chance to have most rooms in use, allow reservations to come back, and so forth. The pool may reopen earlier. As you're aware, that has been replastered and repiped. We're just waiting for county approval to reopen the pool. So hopefully that will be sooner than later. And then we're scheduling a grand reopening event in October with the date to be determined. And on August 10th, this day had a village or walkthrough of Clubhouse 1 if you want to see the details of the remodel. This featured Guy West, and it's available on the village YouTube channel. On the screen before you are some photos of the renovation. I just wanted to share some pictures with you this morning. And this features the lounge, which has more efficient LED lighting, new paint, flooring, and so forth. The ballroom has, the parquet floor has been refinished. They have new LED chandeliers. and the fireplace is now going to be an electronic fireplace with slate, stone, and bench seating around it. The locker rooms have been upgraded. They have new fixtures, new showers, tile work, new LED lighting, new windows and doors, and are a tremendous improvement there. So anyhow, we're excited that this is moving ahead towards completion. The next event I wanted to share is the Laguna Woods 60th anniversary celebration, which is occurring on Monday, September 9th from 5 to 7:30 p.m. at Clubhouse 2. This will be on the front and back patios, the ballroom, and the lawn. This features the Woods Combo playing great music, giveaways, food options, and clubhouse displays. Special guests will include the Laguna Woods History Center, Foundation of Laguna Woods, the Village Community Fund, Thrive, the boards of GRF United Mutual, Third Mutual, and Mutual Number 50, the Disaster Preparedness Task Force, Saddleback Emeritus, the Moult Museum, and many more. Memorial Care will be on hand to provide giveaways, healthy treats, displays, and a health insurance Medicare expert will be available to answer questions. There will be complimentary shuttle service from 4:30 to 8 p.m. to and from Clubhouse 7, the Community Center, and the maintenance employee parking lot off of Campo Verde. There will be food available, hot dogs, burgers, chicken, and so forth from Restaurant 19 for purchase on the back patio grill, and there'll be a GRF no-host bar. Seating is limited, so lawn chairs are welcome, so we encourage everyone to join us for this event. The Disaster Preparedness Task Force has announced 2 events. On Tuesday, October 8th, residents are encouraged to participate in the Security Service and Disaster Preparedness Task Force Expo at Clubhouse 5. You can meet vendors, experience an earthquake simulator, find disaster preparedness supplies, and discover additional resources. And on Thursday, October 17th at 10:17 a.m., residents are encouraged to participate in the annual statewide Great Shakeout earthquake drill and prepare for a disaster by identifying your drop, cover, and hold locations, inventorying personal emergency supplies, update emergency contact information with friends and family. And you can visit the shakeout.org/California website for more information. And we've had a number of small earthquakes recently, so it's a good time just to make sure that you have everything in order. As a reminder, RFIDs simplify gate entry. With an RFID decal, you can pull up to within 2 feet of any resident gate lane gate arm to trigger the arm lift. RFID decals cost $25 per vehicle and are valid for as long as the vehicle's owned. Please contact Resident Services if you'd like to have an RFID installed on your vehicle. You can visit Resident Services with a valid vehicle registration to get your RFID. Kudos cards are a great way for residents to acknowledge VMS staff who've provided excellent customer service or have gone above and beyond in another way. These Kudos cards are available at Clubhouse offices, the Community Center concierge desk, and you can return them to the same location. These Kudos cards are shared with residents and become a feature in the employee newsletter that goes out to all employees. Residents may also share feedback electronically by emailing info@vmsinc.org. The phase 1 of the Enterprise Resource Planning System implementation, this is our new automation project, is on schedule for September completion. And phase 1 includes integration of the core modules such as financial and inventory management, comprehensive user training to ensure a smooth transition is underway, as well as a scheduled practice go live that tests system functionality in a simulated operating environment. The ITAC is looking ahead to phases 2 and 3 of the project and includes prioritizing the essential functionalities, rigorously managing expenditures, and so forth. And lastly, the City General Plan and Zoning Code hearing takes place on Wednesday, August 21st at 2 p.m. in the City Council chambers. The project only includes one property that is owned by any of our corporations here in the village, and that is GRF Garden Center 1 on Moulton Parkway. As history, in 2003, the city assigned a land use designation to this parcel for the future construction of new housing. This was done to meet their requirements under state housing law. And in 2023, the City Council adopted a new housing element that does not rely on that parcel any longer. So the proposal for that parcel is to designate it as open space, and its zoning district would become open space recreation, and this would match the land use designation of the other garden center here in the village. And that concludes my update this morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Siobhan. Appreciate that update. Are there any questions from board members? Moon?
Two things. One is the zoning change or zoning. That means if zoning changed, we have to build some kind of residential unit.
There was a potential for that under the prior housing element, but in 2023, the city adopted a new housing element, and that is no longer a potential. So they want to zone it as open space recreation.
Okay. Second one is the seating is limited. I don't know where I see. Is that the first come first service or reservation or call in, make a reservation? Or?
It's first come, first serve, and again, you can bring your own chairs if.
Okay, first come.
like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Reza, and then David?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yesterday, someone approached me about Clubhouse One and said why it was postponed to October. I didn't have an answer. I assume we're opening in September.
Yes, the soft reopening is September 16th.
So what percent is open? Is everything's open, or there are certain areas?
On September 16th, most of the rooms will be open. Reservations will be coming back, especially to those groups who traditionally met in Clubhouse One. Emeritus, though, for instance, won't be coming back until October 1st. We just want to have a little bit of time to be able to work out the kinks.
I understand. That's why I want a person who asked the question hear the answer.
And then we hope
I
to
hope
have,
you did.
And we hope to have the pool open earlier.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Reza. David?
I have a comment for my colleagues on the board. We are going to have a table at the 60th anniversary celebration, and I have volunteered to staff that table. I invite anybody else who would like to come by and join me for the 60th anniversary celebration.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other comments, we'll move on to agenda item 9, which is our consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are recommended for action by committees and will be enacted by the board via a single motion. Today, per the consent calendar, the board is being asked to ratify the preliminary financials for the month of June 2024, as well as 4 recommendations from the Finance Committee, 7 recommendations from the Landscaping Committee, and 10 recommendations from the Architectural Controls and Standards Committee, otherwise known as ACSC. So can I get a motion to approve today's consent calendar? David moves, SK seconds. All right. Are there any questions from board members on the consent calendar? Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm assuming there are questions. So any objections to approving the consent calendar as listed in our agenda packet? All right, seeing none, we'll consider the consent calendar approved by consent, and we'll move on to agenda item 10. Agenda item 10, we discuss our unfinished business, and today we have 3 unfinished business items to discuss. First is agenda item 10A, which is for the board to entertain a motion to approve the revision of third mutual traffic rules and regulations. These updates have been recommended by the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. The rules were reviewed and updated for clarity, as well as eliminating the chance of getting a ticket the day after a resident's car registration becomes out of date. We've seen situations where the DMV has been late in providing the registration stickers, as well as situations where residents might be out of town for a week or two around when their registration expires and can't put their stickers on their license plates. So last month, the board voted to approve the revision to the traffic rules and regulations and move those forward for 28-day member review and comment. So today we will be voting as to whether or not to accept them going forward. We'll start by asking Chris to read the resolution for us before I proceed.
Okay. Vehicle, traffic, and parking rules. Whereas the Security Department is responsible for the administration of the Laguna Woods Village Vehicle, Traffic, and Parking Rules, and whereas the Resident Compliance and Policy Committee has recognized the need to amend the Vehicle, Traffic, and Parking Rules with updates and clarifying language. Now therefore be it resolved on August 20, 2024, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby approves the Vehicle, Traffic, and Parking Rules as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 03-19-85, approved August 20, 2019, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Can I get a motion to approve the updated rules before we discuss them further? Chris moves. Let's say Moon seconds. Kind of move things around a little bit. Any questions, comments from the board?
Jules had his hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, Jules.
Okay.
Oh, Jill first.
Jules, then SK, and then I know we have a member comment as well. Jules, good day.
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. There is one item in the definitions which now adds the statement that any electrified bicycle will be considered a motor vehicle. I urge strongly that that be removed. It imposes a completely unnecessary rule. We don't know what that means because all of a sudden a bicycle is a motor vehicle, and motor vehicles have very, very stringent rules that have to be complied with. There's no reason why we have to do that, because cyclists have to comply with motor vehicle rules anyway. I just read an article in the Washington Post today that said 18% of all bicycles built in the United States this past year are electrified. The Silver Streaks, which is a very large bicycle club here in Laguna Woods Village, I would venture to guess that 3/4 of the bicycles that are ridden by Silver Streak members are now electrified. So we're imposing a whole new level of rules, motor vehicle rules, on bicycles, which are completely unnecessary. We just don't know, it's totally unnecessary. So what I would urge is we remove that definition and just leave bicycles the way they are right now. Within 5 years, you're hardly going to be able to find a bicycle without some electric pedal assist. And we don't need to make them, we don't need to turn them into motor vehicles unnecessarily. So that would be my proposal, that we remove that sentence from the rule. Thank you.
Thanks, Jules. Appreciate that. Just looking at it, I noticed that it already had motorized bicycle is classified as a motor vehicle. And I think it looks like we just clarified that motorized also included electric. Do you think electric and motorized are two different things?
No, they're probably the same thing.
Okay.
They are motorized by
Okay.
electric, and we should remove them
Okay.
from any regulations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it. Thanks. SK?
Raise hand. Okay.
So did you?
Okay.
We'll get to
Yeah.
We'll get around.
Okay, so because I have a few things to point out. Page 40 of 56, 314. The violator into Laguna Wood Village responsibility for non-compliance with any such disciplinary action by sponsor transferred to the applicable member. Sponsor, is that what we mean by guest?
Sponsor, seeing it as capitalized, it must be in the definitions. I'm just going to back up just because I haven't memorized this yet. Let's see what it says about sponsor.
Let me
Sponsor is a
answer
resident
that.
member. A
Yeah,
sponsor
if
is a
you
resident.
invited or guest, it's solely your responsibility over who the guest act or did.
Okay.
So if he violated or she violated and then impinging on something, still you cannot say it's not me, my guest did, but it's still on your
Okay,
land.
well, the reason that, okay. Yeah, Mark, please.
Okay, I was going back to page 38 of 56, which has the definition of sponsor.
Okay.
Okay, which says a sponsor is a resident member or delegate for a manor who approves the admission of any non-resident into Laguna Woods Village, or a person representing an organization or business entity for the purpose of requesting entry for themselves or another into Laguna Woods Village.
So, yeah, the reason I pointed out sponsor may be inviter, right?
Okay.
So, in this action by guest, am I interpreting right or wrong?
Interpreting what?
So,
how-
sponsor is the person who invite the guest.
Correct, yes.
So, disciplinary action by sponsor transfer to the applicable member. I'm not quite clear.
Basically, if you have a non-owner resident, a leasee, if the leasee has a contractor or somebody come in and they violate the rules, the owner member is still responsible.
Yeah,
If
Mike,
that clears, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Thanks.
that's fine. Now, 4156.
Page 41 of 56, got it?
Yes, page 41 of 56. Second line of alleged violator within 10 days following the hearing. At the hearing, we normally say 15 days, within 15 days instead of 10 days.
Okay.
So should we change 15 days or to be
We
consistent?
asked security at the time,
Uh-huh.
because I asked the same question and they said 10, so.
We currently.
Whatever you may say, this is what is here, so
Okay.
So I don't,
And also, I do have here GRF, and their rule says 15 days as
Okay.
well.
all right.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I
like to have a consistent, that's
Okay.
the reason why. Okay, on the same page, the following citations are ineligible for traffic school: parking, RV lot parking, handicap parking, and then parentheses, hit and run, valid driver's license not produced, and reckless driving, and then there's no close.
Okay.
Okay, so this is clerical. And also, since I do have that information right here, all the ineligible items are 30s ineligible items. So should we point it all in this or not? That's my question. You follow me what I'm saying? According to the Service Division, it has all red marked that is not eligible items for traffic school. And according to this current sentence, it does not lay out all 30 marked items, and some clerical error is there.
Okay.
So the period and parentheses.
Got it? All right.
So my question is, should we list all these marked items or not?
Yes. Chris, you have a?
Yes, I have a question. Do all 30 apply to third, or does some of that apply to?
This is GRF, not GRF, this is Security Division items.
I would have to take a look at the 30 because, you know, if they don't all apply to Third Mutual, then we shouldn't add it.
Okay, I'm just pointing out, to be consistent with the Security Service Division's items.
Yeah, it sounds like there is another effort going on by GRF to consistentize these. I'm happy to remove that paragraph if that may be the easiest thing. I'm going to remove that paragraph out of our traffic rules that lists those few things.
Well, in the GRF rule, it shows the following citations are eligible for traffic school, and then list up these eligible items, 6, 7 items. That would be much clearer, I think, than the other way around, to me.
Okay.
Okay, so
I hear you.
that's
What else you got?
okay. I spent time for that. And also, I noticed that the GRF traffic rule does not have a plug-in electric vehicle decal.
Okay, that's because
State,
we're
yeah,
not a housing mutual.
Okay. And also, 7.15 fines.
Okay, right?
Refer to the
That's on
third
page, that's on
piece.
page, I'm helping people out.
Yeah, page 51 of 56.
Okay.
7.15 fines. Refer to the third fee sheet and the schedule of traffic and blah, 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 blah. There is a penalty sheet right here. And then I don't see where the third fee sheet.
Right, I'm listening to you, sorry.
So
did you finish
I
your-
tried to find where's the third penalty sheet.
Okay,
So
okay,
I don't know where.
okay, got it.
Okay, so that's my question. And then that's it.
Okay,
Just minor things.
all right. Good, okay. Reza will give Dan a moment or two to collect himself.
To get himself together and beat us on the head. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm trying to answer Jules' concern. I was in the meeting and we discussed the EV bicycle or motorized bicycle because the nature of motorized bicycle or EV bicycle is different from regular bicycle. They have higher speed and they usually now used by minors, and there were issues with the minors driving on the sidewalk with the bicycle at the speed of over 25 mile per hour. We don't have a bike line, so there are danger. There was complaint with the residents about the use of sidewalk or improper use of e-bike by some of the guests or even residents. That's why it's there. It wasn't because we want to classify them as a truck, but because of the nature of the bicycle and the speed and the usage improperly, because we don't have bike line that people go in there. They use sidewalk sometimes at the high speed, and we have elderly people walking on the sidewalk. They might be in danger. So that was the reason. Now, I'm not sure that's, satisfy Jules' concern, but that's, what we discussed in the meeting. Thank you.
David?
Just a comment, the personal anecdote. A couple of weeks ago, my wife and I were driving up Villa Puerta, and there was a resident, I believe who is even older than I am, driving a motorized bicycle, an electric bicycle, on the sidewalk. I was doing 23, 24 miles an hour, because I don't want to meet our guests under other circumstances. And the person in the bicycle passed me on the sidewalk. So I understand Jules' concern, but I think we do need to regulate.
Thanks. Dan, welcome. How are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning. So we're looking at kind of the non-red line version, I guess. I don't know if what you have in front of you. Do you have our packet? That if we gave you a page number, that would mean anything to you, or should we just give you a? All right. So we're on agenda item 10A.
Welcome to our world.
I mean, you know, we can try to resolve these here today now, board, or we can kick this back with these open questions back to the committee. So you want to try
I
to
like
resolve
to
them?
table, let's table it, send it back, and then put those things, whatever question, discuss it, and make it a little bit better, bring it back.
Okay. The one thing then I would...
Instead of we wasting our time.
Are you making a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, table it, send it back.
I turn.
Okay. Any disagreement with that?
No.
The one thing that I would ask this board, you had this a month ago, so we're now a month down the road. If we'd done this a month ago, we could have saved ourselves some time. I think the timing is okay as well. Anyway, I'm less concerned about it because it does look like GRF is also looking at updating their own, and I think they're even looking at a broader combining them all together, United, Third, and GRF into one traffic rules so that the security team doesn't have to necessarily manage different rules based upon where they are within the village. So, I think that's a good effort. There may be differences, but we should at least try to see if we can come up with agreement. Yes, Chris?
Two issues. One, we already have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
I was first, moved was second, so
Okay.
we either have to reverse that or amend.
Okay.
So, that being the case, I will withdraw
Okay.
the first motion.
Okay.
Dave Moon, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then Moon made the first, and Jim made the second to kick it back to committee.
Okay. and
Can
my
I make a
second
comment?
point-
Yes, because you had more to say.
Yeah, and my second point is, while Mr. Laurie, or Officer Laurie is here, I'd like to hear his comments because it may clear up the questions that were asked,
Okay.
today.
Can I make a comment quick or?
No, we're going to let him first.
Okay.
Don't waste our time.
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
I don't know the.
What are we
So
asking?
I'm kind of stuck here. So I got kick it back. I got let's talk about it. And I'm happy to just kick it back.
Let me
and be
ask
done with
President.
it today.
Mr. President.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr.
If
Chief.
I may, I heard you mention that GRF is looking to revising their traffic rules, and that's correct. And we're working on that right now. We have to go through through our SCAC committee to review those first. And then once we get sign off on that, then it goes back up to the big board, to GRF, to approve the changes. And you're right, and they want to make sure that they're all encompassing, kind of looking at both United as well as Third, and trying to figure out a way. And we've got a lot of red lines going through everything too with that, because they're all a little bit different. And it would be nice to be able to get all three in a form of an enforcement aspect, so that it's easier to enforce the same rules across the board. And they're just minor differences for the most part. And you've mentioned of them, listening to that, the couple of the questions that you asked about the timeline between 10 and 15 days and why we're trying to do that. And so I think that if you, I know that, like you said, it's been a month, and I think that it seemed like it had already gone through that process, and we were kind of finalized on that issue, but obviously there's some issues that have come up. But if you do table this, the good thing about doing that is that we can actually, you can actually kind of look at what we're putting together for GRF, and we can actually go through that process and use the synergy that we can create and make sure that it's a little bit more tighter and cohesive, instead of, you know, duplicating or these efforts and coming up with the completely different, you know, issues. We can be more in line and more in sync with each other.
Yeah.
That would be great, to tell you the truth, and a lot easier to enforce. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, appreciate that. I think that's kind of where we were anyway. SK, you had something you want to say?
Yes. In fact, I was waiting for the GRF traffic rule red line version coming out. We are about a month ahead. So I got this about last week. So I was comparing both GRF versus our third red line book. And there are some differences there.
Sure.
So I didn't have a chance. I purposely delayed to review all these myself. So I'm sorry to bring up this last minute.
That's
so.
okay. That's all right. I mean,
Because this is late.
General
that's why.
thing. Okay. Yeah, we'll
Thank you.
blend that. So you're on the SCAC?
Yes.
I'm not sure who else is, but I would ask that you help, you know, look at the rules that we put together, because Third did spend some time. We did have some
Yes.
changes that we specifically wanted, especially around registration, to help try to get those included as well. Moon, and then we'll move to this side of the
Ellison, go on, but I think that this is a community-wide rule. You cannot have a separate rule and GRF and
you can.
You know, you know, 25 miles, 10 miles, and 5 miles. You know, it's not. So what I proposed to the leadership of Third Mutual, United, and GRF, and even 50s get together, set up the joint committee, and get it done at once, and then bring it back again to us, and so we all can approve it.
Yeah. And I think that's what the SCAC is trying to do. Going to go to my
You covered
right,
my
and then
comment.
we got Jules. I see you, so we'll go.
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay. Want to say again something?
Yeah, I just want to make the motion again that we table it and send it back. And I'm not going to take that back again if.
Okay, that's already made, seconded. I think we.
Yeah.
I thought you guys recalled
Yeah.
it.
Okay. And Jules, did you have something else you wanted to say?
No, in a way, I guess I apologized. I should have made this comment, last month. My intention was not to relieve any of these bikes of any responsibility. I think these guys riding these supercharged, they're really motorcycles, are a great danger, not only to our residents, but on the bike paths, they're a terror. So perhaps what really has to happen is the state is going to have to change all of its rules regarding bicycles and how they are powered. I strongly support anything that will control these wild animals. And in point of fact, the current rules already do. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
I just wanted to add one thing. We need to make sure that the security staff is included in all this, because they're the ones that have to enforce it, and they can point out problems with what we may come with, what GRF might come up with, United might come up with. So they need to be an integral part of this process.
And they were. Dan was with us for many meetings and as we came up with these rules. So thanks. I know, Michaela, there was a member comment. Why don't you read it for us anyway, just so we have it?
No problem. It's from Gary Durst, and he said, "Dear board members, we will be out of town on the 20th, so here are my thoughts on these proposed changes to the existing traffic rules. Why are there separate traffic rules for Third, United, 50, and GRF? Can't there be one set of rules with, if necessary, notes of a couple differences between organizations? As is, I really need to be familiar with and remember any differences between the various sets of rules, and who is going to do that? 2, I assume that the purpose of the traffic rules is to ensure safety on our roads rather than using the traffic rules as revenue source. With that said, I don't see how safety is improved by finding sponsors/members for traffic infractions committed by individuals who do not have an ongoing relationship with the sponsor/member. For example, we had a warranty issue on an appliance, so the manufacturer sent a technician out to check it out. When he arrived, he informed me that he was ticketed for making a California stop while making a right-hand turn at the corner. About 3 weeks later, I was sent a ticket/bill for his infraction. I asked if I went to traffic school, would I be taught how to keep unknown vendors/technicians from violating our traffic rules, and was informed that the issue was not addressed in the school. How ticketing me or others caught in similar circumstances improves traffic safety is beyond me. And that is all.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point. All right.
I'd like to answer that, respond to that comment, that email comment.
As you wish.
The reason being, we have no control over outside entities. We only have enforcement towards members. So if members, visitors, guests, construction people violate the rules, what needs to happen is we go after the members who we have a relationship with. They need to go back to the contractors or whoever and have them reimburse them.
Yeah, Mr. President, just on the
yes,
comment
Chief.
on that is our, this is anecdotally, but the majority of these cases where it deals with an outside vendor coming in at the request of one of our members, that's exactly what happens. What First Vice President Cook had just mentioned, they typically just pay the fine for them because they got fined. So they'll give that, and a lot of times what they'll do is they'll say, can I just pay it right now? Because I don't want them to know I got a ticket on the property. And we say, well, there's a process we have to go through. So, and we have to go through them because they sponsored you being here. And they said, okay. And then, so you'll need to tell them, and then you can go ahead and make good on the amount of the issue of that citation and what the cost is. And so, and the cost is, and there is no California vehicle code that's called the California rolling right-hand turn. Just so you know, that's what everybody refers to it as. It's just a violation of the stop sign.
And in fact, most of the contractors want to pay it because they don't want to get a black mark in the community.
Yeah, and exactly. And those people that are, and just so you know, those people that are delivering are mass deliverers, like, that you see out here delivering all kinds of products and even food. We deal with their corporation directly. Because they're delivering to multiple people and we don't issue citations to multiple people. We go ahead and deal with them, and that's been more effective for us because they know that if they know they're going to get told on to their bosses, that's not a good thing for the drivers. So all that happens, it happens once, and you'll never have that driver drive that way again. We don't have the repeat offenders.
All right. So I think one of the reasons that we were going to kick it back to committee was to move on. Moon, did you have something you wanted to say?
Sorry, let's move on. But same topic. Okay, when resident ask for somebody coming in, a resident responsibility, whatever that the guest make any mistake or any violation. But multiple, as you said, newspaper or delivery or vendors coming in. But the vendor coming in, there are 5, 6, 7 residents serving. Then who gonna be responsible? The vendor gonna be responsible or any invitee gonna be responsible? We have to make that very clear.
Okay. Great, thank you. Any final comments? All right. Thank you, Board. Let's move on to agenda item 10B. And thank you, Chief and Officer Lurie, for coming in quickly. Do we have to vote? I just kind of was there anybody that disagreed with kicking it back to committee is what I did. But if you'd like to do an official vote, I think Chris is suggesting we make it official.
Okay, sure.
So if we can officially vote on whether or not to accept the motion, which is to kick it back to the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee / SCAC for revision.
Jules, can you submit your vote?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Back to committee.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think we're just missing SKs.
Mine does not work.
You want to give a thumbs up? Oh, perfect,
all right.
okay.
So
Thank
that
you.
passed, 8 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. Thank you for being, requesting us be a little more efficient, Chris. Appreciate that. Moving on to agenda item 10B, which is for the board to entertain a motion to approve the revision of standard 18 for gutters and downspouts. This updated standard was recommended by the ACSC, and last month the board voted to approve this revised standard forward for 28-day member review and comment. Today we will be voting as to whether or not to accept this revised standard going forward. Chris, would you please read the resolution for us before we proceed?
Yes, revised standard 18, gutters and downspouts. Whereas the Third Laguna Hills Mutual recognizes the need to amend standards and create new standards as necessary, and whereas the Mutual recognized the need to revise standard 18, gutters and downspouts. Now therefore be it resolved, August 20, 2024, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts revisions and amendments to Standard 18, gutters and downspouts, as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 03-23-144, adopted December 19, 2023, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve this updated standard? Where'd everybody go? Before we discuss further, SK moves. Chris seconds. All right. Any questions, comments from members of the board? All right. Any comments from any members? Okay. It's time for us to vote. Okay. Well, I mean, we won't finish the voting until some people come back, but we can start.
Jules messaged me and said he votes in favor.
In favor?
Yes.
You know what? How will you?
We're voting on 18.
My finger.
So we're just missing Moons.
Moon, all right. Okay, well, we have
I
enough.
can mark him as absent.
Yes, yes. So we have enough to proceed. So 7 yeses, 0 noes, 1 absent. Okay, all right. Okay, and board members, feel free to ask if we all should take a break at the same time. If you're all going to leave at the same time, you've got to put me in an awkward position here.
That's a physical call.
Yeah, but if one moves and then somebody else goes, why don't we just say, hey, perhaps we should take a break. But now that we're mostly back, let's move on to agenda item 10C, which is for the board to entertain a motion to approve the revision of standard 34 for windows and window attachments. This updated standard was recommended by the ACSC also, and last month we voted to approve it for 28-day member review and comment. So today we'll be voting as to whether or not to revise it going forward. Chris, would you please read this resolution for us as well?
Revised Standard 34, windows and window attachments. Whereas the Third Laguna Hills Mutual recognizes the need to amend standards and create new standards as necessary, and whereas the Mutual recognized the need to revise Standard 34, windows and window attachments. Now therefore be it resolved, August 20, 2024, the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts revisions and amendments to Standard 34, windows and window attachments, as attached to the official minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 03-19-09, adopted January 15, 2019, is hereby superseded and canceled, And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution.
Okay, thanks. All right, can I get a motion to approve updated Standard 34 before we discuss it further? Jim moves, SK seconds. Thank you both. Any questions, comments from board members regarding Standard 34? Any member comments? Okay, so no comments at all, so it's time to vote. Again, we're voting to approve revision of Standard 34 for windows and window attachments.
And Jules is in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Mine did not work.
All right, so this passed 8-0. Thank you, board. And now we'll move on to agenda item 11, which is for our new business items. And today we have 7 new business items to discuss and vote on today. The first one is agenda item 11A, and that's for the board to entertain a motion to approve artificial turf guidelines and an accompanying standard. These new guidelines have been recommended by the Landscape Committee. A request to install artificial turf around a manor will be addressed on a case-by-case basis as they are received. However, the board wanted to make sure that there were guidelines for those situations if the committee and board approved any case-by-case request. And artificial turf is becoming a bigger topic now as we have turf removal actions in place. We have some state laws that are requiring turf removal. So some people may want to replace some of that with artificial turf. So today we'll be voting as to whether or not to submit these new guidelines and standard forward for 28-day member review and comment period to allow our members to share their comments before the board makes a final decision. Can I get a motion to place the new artificial turf guidelines and standard on a 20-day member review and comment period before we discuss it further? SK moves, Jim seconds. Thanks. Any questions from the board? I did have one, and that is regarding guideline number 7, which is for blade length. The guideline suggests that the blade length is 1.75 inches or 1 3/4 inches. I did some Google searching, best artificial turf, most realistic artificial turf, and many of them had ones that looked good, at least based on the pictures, were rated highly from some of these sites that were 1.5 inches versus 1.75. So I was just going to ask, does anybody have an issue with lowering the blade to 1? Maybe I should ask Kurt if there was since I believe you may have come up with, drafted these guidelines, was 1.75 something key for the length of the blade of grass? If we changed it to 1.5, would you and your team have major issues with that?
No, we would not.
Okay.
My experience has been 1.75 tends to look more realistic.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Anybody have any issues making that change for the next time around to make that, reduce it to 1.5? Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions, comments on this? Any member comments? Okay. All right, so we're now going to then be asked to vote on whether or not to submit this forward with this one minor change. Thanks, Kurt. Forward for 28-day member review and comment.
Jules, can you submit your vote? Perfect, thank you. He is in favor.
It's still not working. Should work.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Okay. Are you for it or against?
Yeah. This is
So thumbs up, thumbs down. Where are you? Okay. All right.
This equipment's obsoleted, maybe. But when you were touching it, it didn't change the screen.
All right. So this passed 8 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. For those of you listening in. Then we'll move on to agenda item 11B. This is for the board to entertain a motion to approve the revision of standard 22 for patio and balcony coverings. This updated standard was recommended by the ACSC and is a rewrite of this standard following ACSC's new format for standards. which includes definitions, and in this case, some pictures to make the standard easier to understand and follow. Today, we will be voting as to whether or not to submit forward this updated Standard 22 for 28-day member review and comment. Alan, you have any opening comments for us? It's Alan, right? It is. Okay, sorry. I knew it started with an A, and then suddenly it was an Alex.
Right,
Alan?
yeah, just real briefly, this standard, the old standard, and also standard 29, standard 37, and standard 38, which you're going to be reviewing subsequent. This consolidates all those standards into one comprehensive standard. In doing that, we spent a considerable amount of time working with vendors that do this work and have been doing this work on site for a number of years. We also spent some time with maintenance and construction addressing their issues and concerns. So this standard really is an overview and a comprehensive package that addresses balcony coverings, awnings, and patio coverings.
Okay. How about solariums?
Solariums is being rescinded and is included in 22.
Okay, because I didn't see it spelled out specifically. Glass, type of glass I saw was in the old 29. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. A specific section about type of glass for a solarium, and I didn't see that necessarily here, but it may have been hidden within balcony enclosures, and I just didn't see it as clearly. I know there's glazing components.
Under definitions, 2.10, under enclosures, it also incorporates sunrooms. That is considered one and the same.
Okay. Again, I kind of just talk about type of glass. I'm again jumping ahead a little bit. On 11C, there's a whole section, 5.0, 5 bullet points of the types of glass that could be used for a solarium, and I didn't see that level of detail in 22. So, if you guys are confident,
yeah,
I will look at it again.
Fair question. A lot of those were updates to what's current standards.
Okay.
We did away with single pane glass. Most windows today are at least dual pane for energy reasons. So we've just really updated the standard to comply with what's current energy-wise.
Okay. All right. I hear you. I'm not sure I quite got it, but okay, I'll read it again. But since we're putting it on 28-day, we're considering putting on 28-day member review and comment. I have some chance to do that again. Can I get a motion to place this updated? Thank you. You may want to stay there, not go way in the back like you were sitting. Maybe sit up front just in case, since we got a few more coming your way. So we've got a motion to place the updated standard. Motion made by Jim, seconded by SK. Okay, you guys are busy today. Thank you both. Any further questions on this? I had mine on solariums. Chris?
Yes, I have some Scribner notes I'd like to share with staff so they can update it.
Okay.
For example, punctuation is not consistent.
Okay.
Also, on the resolution, they refer to the standard incorrectly.
Okay.
And one question I did have, should member be defined? Because they talk about lowercase m member being responsible for maintenance.
Okay. All right, so I guess that's it. So she's asking, should member be one of the things that is defined in definition? But
we can certainly include that.
And maybe we should, just going forward, since this is kind of the first, maybe not the first, but one of the first few that I've seen with this kind of updated format of definitions and that kind of thing, that maybe we should just kind of clarify that, especially since member is so important here within the village. You know, they're the ones that are making, ultimately responsible going forward for it and all that kind of thing.
Certainly.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes?
I'm a little concerned about putting a definition of member into this resolution. I believe member is defined elsewhere, and we run the risk of ending up with a contradictory definition of member, particularly if we may use the current definition of member in this resolution. But if later there is some change made to the definition of member and we don't pick it up here, you've got the potential for having member meaning two different things, one in the resolution, another in our other governing documents.
Okay. I mean, I hear you. Member is all over the place and defined. I mean, even in the traffic rules that we just looked at, the GRF traffic rules, member is defined. So I hear you. But Chris, looks like you may have some comment.
Yes, member is not defined in the resolution. It's in the policy.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so, yeah. Jim?
And I'm also wondering if where we go to supersedes and cancels the resolution 319-114, shouldn't it also include the fact that we are canceling 29, 37, and 38 in the resolution? Because that's being incorporated into 22. Shouldn't that be included?
Oh, I'm sorry, were you talking
Sense
to
to
me?
me. Yeah. No, he's looking at you because you're good at this kind of thing.
It just seems that we're basically taking 4 standards and incorporating them into one. So it seems in the resolution, we should say that it's superseding and canceling those other 3 standards because of the incorporation. I just think that's a technical thing that
Yes,
should
but
be
when the
included.
policy, as I read some of these, moving forward, the resolution is rescinded in that particular category. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, but I'm just wondering because this one is taking over all those resolutions, it seems that it also should be included in this.
Don't we have separate resolutions rescinding those?
We do.
We do, but we aren't saying we're rescinding them and making them
Part of
standard
another
22.
one. Or maybe they are.
I didn't think it said
Did you
that.
say we're a little bit?
I can go either way.
What's fun?
For example, on 11D, the resolution, where is it here?
Maybe very.
Oh, it
It's
said
about
revisited
rescinded.
the language of standard
Yes.
22. Okay.
It's
To incorporate it.
now therefore
Okay.
in that paragraph.
Is that in all
Yes.
3 of them?
I imagine they're copied.
Yes.
Yes.
I would,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you okay?
I stand
It's
correct.
it's a good point. That's what we're here for, to kind of chat through this stuff. All right, okay. All right.
I do have one request. If you could send me the appropriate definition of member as agreed on by the third board, I'll be happy to incorporate
What's
that.
defined in the CC&Rs?
As defined,
typically?
we can go with that.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. That's fine.
Okay. All right.
We
Chris,
think
that's-
that the member definition is going to be different between mutuals and GRF?
No, because we're
Or
tying
is that
back
going
to
to be a universal definition, is correct?
tying
or
back
not?
to the CC&Rs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is it should be a universal members definition that we always have to abide by. We cannot create another definition for
Right,
the
so
member.
we will just
Yeah,
refer-
it's universal, I mean,
we'll just refer to that, just so that as a
yeah,
reading this.
which,
it's
we
clear.
don't have to come up with a
What we
new
mean.
definition for it.
No, not coming up with a new one. All right, okay. Any further comments, questions? Any comments from any member on this one? Okay, didn't think so. So are we at point of voting? All this conversation, I lost track. So we have a motion, you made it, SK seconded it, no more comments. We're now voting to submit the updated standard 22 for patio and balcony covers, forward for 28-day member review and comment. Okay.
junk.
That's, yes. All right, yeah, your thumb works good, just that you don't have to keep trying the screen. I think we're clear that your screen's not working for you today. I'd be happy to change places with you if you want to take on the chair. All right.
Okay, moving on.
Eight, for those of you just listening in, passed 8 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. We're moving on to agenda item 11C, which is the board to entertain a motion to rescind standard 29 for solariums, as the information from the existing standard 29 is now included in standard 22 for patio and balcony coverings that the board just discussed and placed on the 28-day member review and comment. So today, I guess we're going to be voting as to whether or not to place the rescission of standard 29 forward for 28-day member review and comment as well. Can I get a motion to place the rescission on the 28-day member review? Jim moves, David seconds. Any comments from the board? So I think we've kind of talked through this, the 11C, 11D, and 11E. Solariums, patio balcony awnings, and patio enclosures have all been incorporated into 22. So we're going to go through them one by one, but just kind of remind everybody, the one we're on now is 29 for solariums. It's been incorporated. I'm assuming no member comments, or Michaela, you'll raise your hand. So now time for us to vote as to whether or not to submit the rescinding of standard 29 forward. All right. Okay, and that passes 8 yeses, 8 noes, 0 abstentions. Excuse me, 8 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. Let me have a sip of water. Thanks, board. Moving on to agenda item 11D, for the board to entertain a motion to rescind standard 37. Same process. Can I get a motion to place the rescinding of standard 37 on? Jim moves. Reza seconds this time.
Oh, there you go.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's now time for us to vote to rescind standard 37 for patio, balcony awnings and covers because it's been included into 22. I don't think staff can keep up with us. We're going so fast now. Reza's voted. Okay, that's passed 8 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions. And our final for this is agenda item 11E, for the board to entertain a motion to rescind standard 37 for patio enclosures. Again, that information is now included in the standard 22. Can I get a motion? David moves this time. SK seconds. Keep Jim out of it for a moment. Any comments, questions from the board? No members? Okay. Give them time for us to vote when you guys are ready.
Got the wrong screen up.
Oh, you may see if you can touch the other side and it'll go away. Yeah, there you go. Just had a window up.
Yours did not work.
Okay, all right, so this passed 8 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstention. Thank you, board. Now we'll move on to something a little different. Agenda item is 11F is for the board to approve the 2023 operating funds surplus transfer. This funds transfer has been recommended by the Finance Committee. For various reasons, Third spent $531,282 less in 2023 than was budgeted. Per our standard process, when there is a budget surplus, it is transferred to one of Third's funds, usually to Third's unappropriated expenditures fund, which is also known as our contingency fund. And the Third Finance Committee is recommending that this surplus be moved into Third's contingency fund. Chris, before we proceed, could you please read the resolution for us?
Yes. Operating surplus transfer, whereas the Third Laguna Hills Mutual operating statement as of December 31, 2023, reflected a net operating fund surplus of $531,282. And whereas the board desires to return this amount to the members by way of a transfer to the unappropriated expenditure fund, now therefore be it resolved August 20, 2024, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby authorizes the transfer of $531,282 of a 2023 accumulated operating surplus from the operating fund to the unappropriated expenditure fund, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Can I get a motion to approve the 2023 operating fund surplus transfer? David, thanks. Jim, seconds. All right. Any questions from the board? We kind of talked a little bit about this yesterday during the budget. Go ahead.
Yes. How difficult is it to transfer to reserve fund instead of unappropriated fund?
So that would, all that is needed is for the board to make that decision. So are you asking the board to consider moving this to the reserve fund
Yes.
instead of our contingency fund?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion on that, David?
Yeah. The fund that we're transferring it to is a short-term, essentially a buffer fund, okay? So what it's designed to do is smooth out when we have to go to our regular reserve fund, because what we don't want to do is sell any of our longer-term reserve assets before they mature. So what we do is we maintain a buffer fund. The roughly $500,000 that we're putting in this buffer fund right now is probably going to come out at the end of the year, because it looks like at this point we're going to run about $1 million budget shortfall this year. So by putting it in this buffer fund instead of the longer term reserves, it's invested very short term, essentially 30 days or less. And what that means is we don't suffer any loss at the end of the year when we withdraw the money to make up the deficit that we're anticipating this year. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so I think what we just heard today that we hadn't heard before, I mean, yesterday we heard that we were in the red from a reserves perspective, and I think that's what SK was trying to help resolve.
Yeah.
What you just told us is that we may be running a shortfall in
Right.
2024.
We probably will.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sold.
Okay, thanks, SK, thanks for the question.
The third mutual, we have an operational budget from the resident, due, and we should be able to cover all our operational expense with the resident due. Any windfall, which is not unexpected, any windfall should be returned back to the resident. Because if we didn't do calculation or budgeted correctly, it's our fault in a way. And when we raised or we decided how much money we need from resident for that year, we should include all that, not windfall. Windfall we didn't expect at all. And any of those money coming which we didn't expect it should be returned to the resident. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, and I think it is effectively. It's just we're not writing checks back to the residents. You want to answer this? You probably do better.
If I might, that's why we keep the buffer funds, because the net effect of it is it reduces our need to raise the monthly assessment. So in effect, when we put this operating surplus into the buffer fund, then it's going to result ultimately next year in next year's 2026 budget in less of a HOA monthly fee increase. So indirectly, we're getting it back to the residents.
Yes, Moon?
Thank you, David, your answer. Okay. This year, we have about 500,000 windfall.
Last year.
Okay, last year, we had almost 1 million windfall that never went to the resident. So we want to smooth out whatever smooth out. Any reserve, any windfall, it never go to the resident. Okay, so that seems very odd. We decided the HOA due considering how much we need for this year, following year, or next year. And if our calculation is correct, when we calculated, we never counted in the windfall. So that windfall should be going back to the resident. So in a way, we didn't calculate it correctly or rightly. So, thank you.
Thanks. All right, resident?
Yeah, I think let's get this clear because it puts some doubt in members' mind what we're discussing if it's not very clear. When we have funds left from the previous year, we bring it to the next year in order to offset the operational cost. So it reduces the assessment, or we don't have increased assessment by that amount. For example, it's $500,000, it's $5 per man per month, whatever that is. I'm just talking from top of my head. That way, we don't have to do that. That's how you return the money, because you are not going to go write $5 check to the residents, but you try to control the cost of the next year by transferring the fund into it. Yes, we're returning it, but we need to understand how it's been returned is not in the form of a check, is a form of controlling the assessment, monthly assessment for the following year. That's my understanding. Yep. I hope that's clear the air a little bit.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, in reality, it's pay me now or pay me later. And what happens is it gets forwarded so we don't have to raise the monthly in the next year as much as we would have to. If we actually refunded it to all the individual members, the cost of refunding it would probably negate any money we're sending back to them.
Moon?
Not this year, the year before, we have about a little less than $1 million windfall. And I was told at that time, we have only two choices. Either we return it to resident or we use that to our HOA. Otherwise, we have to pay tax on it. Okay. So from resident point of view, okay, you guys decided already how much I'm paying monthly. For following years, let's say we are deciding right now, year 2025, how much we have to pay for it. And then we have a windfall coming in. Okay, that windfall never go to operational budget. It goes to reserve. That was, I was told the year before. This year, same thing, SK trying to move that to reserve fund or that. It's not going to operational fund, okay? So from resident point of view, you guys got some money back. You put in the back pocket. How come you're not returning to me?
And then it comes back down to, okay, we're trying to level everything off so that we don't raise the monthly more than 5% every year. So if you don't take that money and pass it forward, then the next year you're going to have to raise the assessment 10% to make up for not putting that money back in. So again, it's pay me now or pay me later.
Yes, Moon?
when we calculated the next year budget, okay, in that operational budget, reserve fund, how much we're going to put it in reserve fund, just like we are doing right now for year 2024, for 2025, we are calculating how much we need for operational budget and how much we're going to have a reserve fund, how much we want to have a disaster fund, how much we want to have unappropriated, whatever the buffer fund, as David said. That is all in it like Laguna sauce, right? And then we have a windfall, and then still gonna put into your back there. You are not gonna see it. If the resident knows that, how do they feel? You are already calculated the reserve fund, those, all the buffer fund, and all that back pocket. So my operational budget, let's say $10, and then all that plus alpha, I have to pay $15, and then you got $1 back, and it's still going to plus alpha.
May I say something and we finish?
If you must.
Yeah, well, I think it's important because that sticks to the people's mind that if there is a surplus, why I'm not getting it? Because that was a couple of years ago, that was a big deal. People thought that they want to get money back, a $300 check, and they were asking for it. So let's be clear. I mean, this year, 2022, we had $1 million, went to 2023. 23 now, 2021, we had $1 million, went to 2023. 2022, we had $500,000 going to 2024. I'm getting the numbers right. And now this year we're going to be shortfall because we were coming out of the, COVID and all of the stories that we heard about. Now we're going to have a shortfall this year. If this money that we had excess from the previous year doesn't come here, we're going to have shortfall of, according to the, to our treasurer, $1 million shortfall. Where is that going to come from? It has to come either from reserve, that we have to dip into the reserve, or the money that surplus will come in and we use it to offset that. That's how you return it to the people. Oh.
When we calculated for any budget this year, next year, following year, not only we calculated the operational budget, we also calculated the reserve fund or that other fund plus alpha. Okay, and so we already pay it, and then you got some kind of money coming in, windfall coming in. It's going to in the back pocket. We are not, residents are not going to see it.
So,
okay. So what I'm saying is, if you're gonna use that in your back pocket, then please let the resident know we're gonna use that to the back pocket money. We are not gonna see it. President write it letter, weekly, monthly. You should do that.
I think you're wrong. You were at the budget meeting yesterday. It was part of yesterday's budget. This $531,000 is part of our 2025 budgets. It's not extra. It's in our calculations for how we're calculating what the assessment is going to be next year based upon all the things that we need to do. So it's not being hidden. So I'm moving on. So thanks, but good questions to bring up, good responses, everybody. Helps hopefully helping people understand that the money is being given back through reduced assessments. Moving on to agenda item 11G is for the board. Sorry, Steve. I want to move on. All right. It's now time for us to vote as to whether or not to approve the transfer of this money to our buffer fund or contingency fund, or officially named in unappropriated expenditures fund. Thumb up, thumb down, okay? Okay, so this passes 7 yeses, 1 no, and that's Moon, just so that people know who might be listening, and no abstentions. Thank you, Board. Moving on to agenda item 11G is for the Board to approve some updated committee assignments. Specifically, Director Brad Reinhardt is going to be taking over as chair of the Architectural Control and Standards Committee since Jim Cook is going to be moving on. There's going to allow a little month of transition time. Brad is also our Maintenance and Construction Committee chair, so he wants to focus on both of those two, and so we're just taking him off a couple other committees that he's currently on and adding him as chair to the ACSC. So can I get a motion to approve the updated committee assignments? Jim moves, SK seconds. Any questions, comments from members? Okay. All right. I'm assuming none from external folks. I guess it's time for us to now vote on this and vote on whether or not to approve these updated committee assignments. Moon, you ready to vote, or are you taking a look? Moon? Sorry, just... Okay, all right. Okay, this is a passed. 6 yeses, 2 noes, and those are Jules and Moon, and 0 abstentions. Thank you, Board. And we're now done with our new business, and we're moving on to agenda item 12, where members of this board will share our monthly third board committee status updates, starting with a report of the Finance Committee. David, our treasurer. While he's talking.
Let them get the slides up and ready to go. Here we go. Good morning. I'm going to combine 2 reports this morning. One is going to be my monthly treasurer's report, and the other is going to be the regular meeting of the Finance Committee. So we got slide 1 on the screen, and basically what that's showing is through the reporting period of June 30, 2024, total revenue was $23.6 million. Expenses were $21.7 million. So we had a net revenue of $1.9 million. And next slide, please. Okay. Finance really keeps a close eye on the operating portion of our financial results, and that's why this slide is here. The operating fund shows a deficit of $1.1 million through the reporting period. So the table that you're seeing on the screen right now shows how much our revenue went into operations and where that money came from, with $13.9 million coming in from assessments and $1.2 million coming in from non-assessment revenue. And this is compared to operating expenditures of $16.1 million. And for any financial people listening in, that is without depreciation. Next slide, please. Okay. The table you're looking at right now takes the full income statements and it compares the current results to our budget. What you can see is that we've got right now a budget shortfall of $696,000 when you combine both operating and reserve revenue and expenses. Next slide, please. So this chart's gonna give us a breakout of where our variances are. The green, favorable variances. The red, unfavorable variances. So what you can see is employee compensation and related. We've got a favorable variance, and that resulted primarily in landscape and M&C, which we've seen all year, due to open positions. These are positions that we can't fill. The impacted areas, ground maintenance, irrigation, paint, carpentry, electrical. VMS is recruiting to fill these open positions. Ground maintenance contracted shrub bed maintenance to outside vendor for the pruning weeding cycle as they continue to fill their open positions. Second favorable variance, investment income. We, quite frankly, have been lucky this year. We got a yield curve that is upside down or more of a big dipper, and it's favoring the short side, which is where we invest. So we've got over a $400,000 favorable variance, and investments, we figure they're going to make 2.5%, and this year they're making 4.9%. That's not going to go on forever. At some point, the wizards at the Federal Reserve are going to set the yield curve right, and things will go back toward that 2.5%. Insurance, the arrangement that we entered into with United continues to benefit us. We've got a favorable variance of $220,000. That started June 1, 2024, so we're starting to book those savings. We're going to see savings on property insurance through the end of the year. Now we get to the unfavorable variances. The first one is outside services. That's about a $725,000 unfavorable variance. That one is due to more damage restoration costs than we had anticipated through the reporting period. Rainfall through June 2024 was 50% higher than the five-year average. And additionally, work for the wasteland remediation program began earlier than anticipated, resulting in an unfavorable variance through June. These increases were partially offset by favorable variances in various programs such as the PTP program, PVC cool roofing, copper pipe remediation, and tree maintenance. The budgets for these programs were spread across 12 months to even them out, but the work began a little earlier than anticipated. So we're booking those just a little bit early. And the last one is fees and charges to residents. And this is the big one. This is the one that's probably going to contribute the most to about $1 million budget shortfall by the end of the year. Quite frankly, when it comes from, we are not getting as much money out of the water damage restoration cases as we anticipated back when we did the budget. Hearings are ongoing, and it's anticipated they're going to be completed by the end of the year. Next slide, please. Okay, slide 5. What you're seeing is the non-assessment revenues that we've earned to date, broken out by category and compared to the current year's budget and the prior year's year-to-date actual. So you can see how we're doing compared to last year. Our largest revenue-generating categories as of June 30, 2024 were investment income, the resident maintenance fee, and sales and leasing fees. Non-assessment revenues totaled $1.9 million through the reporting period. Next slide, please. Okay, slide 6. And in the table you're looking at, you can see our expenses to date, again, by category and compared to this year's budget and last year's year-to-date. So on the expense side, you can see how we're doing compared to the year before. Our largest expense categories as of mid-year: employee compensation and related, as you'd expect; outside services, which we're largely using to fill in the gaps that we can fill by recruiting and insurance expenses. Put those three together, they total $21.7 million through the reporting period. Next slide, please. Okay. This one actually boils down to our non-operating fund balance on June 30 was $35.9 million. We contributed through June 30 $8.6 million, while year-to-date expenditures were $5.6 million. Next slide, please. Okay, on this bar chart, we're comparing our non-operating fund balances to the historical fund balances for the past 5 years. It's averaged $31.6 million. We have been supporting our reserve requirements and building contingency funds for unexpected events because, as Moon noted earlier, budgets are estimates, and sometimes you end up with more, sometimes you end up with a shortfall. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide shows the resale history from 2022 through June 30th of this year. We have, through June 30, 2024, we've had 169 resale, which is equal to the number of resales the prior year for the same time period. So in terms of resales, we're running about the same as we did for 2023. The average resale price through June 30th was $617,000, which is $69,000 higher than 2023 through the same time period. That concludes the treasurer's portion of my report. Any questions on that? There they go. Yes.
Let's go. Can I? Okay. I just want to make a point here. Yep. Chart 9.
Slide 9, please.
Chart 9. They're getting about $1.3 million Damien GRF out of third. So if we add a United, maybe double. So last 60 years, I calculate roughly about $150 million the GRF got collected. I just want to make a comment, but we cannot tap in. That's what you said.
So noted.
So it's sad to me. We're $150 million gone. I don't know.
And Moon, I believe you had a comment or question?
Yeah, I do. Can you finish?
No, I still have.
Let him finish.
Yes. Still. Chart 5.
Slide 5, please.
Yes, slide 5. Investment income, $758,000. Is it after tax or before?
That's before tax.
Before tax?
Yeah.
So we have to pay tax out of that too, right?
We will, yeah. And income taxes are going to be higher next year than they have been because we've been super lucky on our investment results.
So what happened, Steve was coming up, was going to study to offset that income. Somehow, I don't know what has been done at all.
We've been using expenses in areas that we subsidize. For example, the washing machines is the best example. And actually, in prior years, when we had more normal investment returns, those expenses were large enough, those excess expenses, to cover the investment income. This year, I don't think they are. We're doing very, very well.
Oh, good. So, going back to chart slide 4. We are about $1 million shortfall. After we finish this year, is it going to be reduced or is it going to be what? What's estimated?
We're estimating right now. Estimates are a guess, and the best guess is that we're going to probably have a budget shortfall this year between $1 million and $1.2 million.
So out of this, fees and charges from the residents?
It won't all come from the fees and residents, but the fees and residents, yeah, they're going to contribute to it. We're not going to see as much out of that backlog as we had anticipated.
Okay. Just wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Since we have sorry, since we have a chart 4, let me understand this clearly. Favorable is for employee compensation, so we pay them less.
We have unfilled positions.
We paid less than less of 500.
So we ended up paying less to in-house.
So and then like the fee and the resident, it's unfavorable. So we collected less. Either resident didn't apply so many things, or our fee was so low, or whatever that.
What it actually was, when we started clearing our backlog, we prepared basically an estimate of what we thought the damage restoration hearings would produce. We were a little overly optimistic when we budgeted last year.
When you look at, we were favorable, we paid less to our employee, but we paid more to outside service.
Exactly, because we
so
had to
we
get
lost
work done.
actually 200 grand for human resource, right? Is that correct?
Could you
so outside service is 700 grand.
Yeah.
And employee, we paid less, almost 600 grand. So minus 700 minus to 600, so we paid, we lost about 100 grand.
Oh yeah, because we had to go outside, and usually what you pay in-house is less than if you have to go
so
outside.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
Actually, my question is on the page 8. So let me make understand the replacement fund. Is that reserve fund, or are you using for replace something? What is replace?
These are, you see the blue bars up on top?
Mm-hmm.
That's the buffer fund. That's that I was talking about a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the buffer fund, and then these others are reserves.
So disaster fund and the replacement fund is a reserve fund?
Yeah, those are reserve funds.
Also,
Yeah, I'm not sure if disaster is. I think disaster is an operating.
so we operate separately. We have a
Yeah.
reserve fund, disaster fund, and then unappropriate expense. So that's what I said earlier. We have 3 different pockets for back pocket.
We have 3, essentially you can look at it that way.
Yeah.
They're not our pockets, they're the members' pockets that we keep track of.
So we are currently, in a way, we have about 35 million in our back pocket.
That's one way of looking at it, sure.
Yeah. Correct?
Yeah.
And then we still need more.
Oh,
Our
absolutely.
operation is about 30 million a year.
The reason we need more is that we're not only funding our current operations, we're also setting money aside for capital replacement costs that are going to occur as far in the future as 30 years. That's how far out we're required to plan.
Yeah, if I may, according to study, the 30-year reserve fund study, we need about $85 million.
If
Yesterday we
we're
saw
going to
that.
be fully funded.
Right. Well, that when, according to their study, we need about $85 million. So 35 out of $85 million. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You got some more, Moon?
Moon, go ahead.
Yeah, yesterday at Finance Committee, reserve fund, we were talking about many things, but for instance, elevator, I forgot exactly because I don't have, so elevator reserve fund is about, our reserve is about 15 times more than annual expenditure.
Yep.
And some of them are like 10 times more than our annual expenditure.
Yep.
So our reserve is 10 times, that means 1,000%, right? 1,000%, 1,500, 1,500% than annual expenditure, our reserve.
Absolutely.
So we are fat city.
No. That one, I'm afraid, I have to disagree with. Let me tell just a real quick story. Do you remember 3 or 4 years ago, the big high-rise condo in Miami that collapsed and killed 120 people? The reason that that happened is that that HOA didn't keep their reserves up as the building aged. And what happened was they ended up with serious problems, but they didn't have the money to address those problems. So they couldn't, from their perspective, do anything about it. And what ended up happening was 120 people got killed when the whole building came tumbling down. So what we're doing, and you're right, compared to our annual operating expenditures, we have comfortable reserves. But what we're doing is we are, in effect, insuring ourselves against the kind of problem that that condo in Miami had.
I'm going to go Reza and then.
Yep.
Yeah, my question is on our investment. We pay taxes on our realized gain, not on unrealized gain, correct?
Mainly on yield, because we hold most of our investments to maturity.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah,
sell
we do,
it in order to make money, in order to pay taxes.
Yep.
So in a market that is, you're the finance guy.
Yeah.
Steve is here too. In a market is up and up, is advisable to extend the duration and save on taxes, or because we're paying more taxes now?
Yeah.
Because the market is up, because we make it realized gain rather than
Yep.
keep it as unrealized gain.
Yep.
Paper money.
Yep.
And what is your suggestion on that?
Okay. 2 things to consider. Everybody looks at return. But every dollar of return that you make comes with a quantifiable element of risk. Now, we could try to anticipate the market, and we could try to say, this is what we think is going to happen next. So we're going to move our investments around. And there have been instances in the past when a board at Laguna Woods Village has tried that, and they guessed it wrong, and it cost them $1.5 million. We don't want to be in that position. So what we try to do, the way that our investments are set up, is we try to stay what's called risk neutral. We try to play it down the middle, and we use an investment strategy called laddering, which essentially, when you're dealing with a fixed income portfolio like ours, reduces the risk really to what's called systemic risk, the minimum risk that you just can't get rid of. And I'd make it a very strong recommendation to this board, is that we not depart from that laddering strategy. Now, I am personally in favor of, at some point, and I want to emphasize that, lengthening the duration of the length of our ladder a bit. We need to get somebody to come in from the outside to advise us, can we go out safely? If we can, how far can we go out safely? But it's generally not advisable to try to do a repositioning like that when you've got a fixed income market situation like we have right now, where the yield curve is inverted, and when there is a pretty good chance that it is going to be changing pretty significantly. Because if you make changes around and then the yield curve straightens out on you, it can cause problems.
Okay, you're good. I just asked a question.
Thank you for the reminding for the Florida. I have a condo and strips on the Las Vegas. I recently had a special assessment, as you all afraid of. I'm paying monthly, about the monthly due is a little over $1,300. Okay, special assessment was coming about 9,000 plus.
Yeah.
So about 5-6 times more than that. Okay. And I don't think we should be afraid of a special assessment. Okay, couple things. If there's a need for special assessment, okay, just if it's my house, if something broken, something needed to be fixed, I'll pay for it. I don't want somebody stealing money. I don't want somebody goofing up or something. Let's say I can pay $100 to get the same result than paying $1,000. But as long as we do a good job, I don't have any problem for the special assessment. But if we have a $35 million reserve, we put that so-called investment for treasury bond. This year, we were a little bit over 5%, but most of the time it's about 1%, right? So most of people can do better than 1%. Okay, second, if we have a new resident, let's say SK been here 10 years, I've been here, profit value, I've been here a little over 10 years. I've been paying all that money for reserve and all that, right? If we have $100 million of reserve fund, new buyer coming in, he's tapping into reserve fund. He got the bonus, right? All those 10 years, 15 years, I'm paying for reserve. He didn't pay $1, he's getting my reserve.
Well, that's certainly one way of looking at it. I wouldn't view it the same way. I understand where you're coming from, and yeah, you wouldn't want one resident taking another resident's reserves. In effect, the price of membership here, the price of a condo, one of the things that's kind of built into that implicitly is the level of reserves. So if I decide tomorrow that I want to move to Nome, Alaska, can't imagine why I would, but if I did, I would sell my condo, and given the fact that our reserves are in good shape, because anybody looking at a condo, I certainly know I did, looks at the financial situation. So my seller got the benefit of those reserves in the price that they were able to charge me when I bought. So that's the whole idea behind it. But yeah, the concern is noted and appreciated.
Okay, ready for your Finance Committee report?
All right, let's do the Finance Committee report. This one's shorter. Last meeting of the Finance Committee was on August 6th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. We reviewed the June 30 financial statements, which I just discussed in the Treasurer's report. And as I noted then, we're anticipating a budget shortfall for all of 2024 in the neighborhood of $1 million to $1.2 million. For 2023, we experienced a budget surplus of approximately $500,000, and the committee voted to recommend transferring this surplus to THIRD's unappropriated expenditures fund. That's the buffer fund I was talking about. We use this fund as a buffer to reduce transfers to and from our longer-term reserves. This surplus is expected to be used to cover, in part, the anticipated budget shortfall for 2024. The committee is in the process of scheduling a special open committee meeting to consider changes to the THIRD mutual purchasing policy. We expect to hold this meeting in time to make a recommendation before the next regular board meeting. Next meeting of the Finance Committee will be held October 1, 2024. And that concludes my report.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, David. Next, we have the ACSC. Jim?
Yeah, the ACSC met on August 12th, 2024. In that meeting, we had 11 variance requests. 5 of them were over the counter, And just an explanation of what over-the-counter means is that variances that have already been prior approved that are the same or very similar can be done over the counter, which lessens the time frame. 6 of those variances were ones that we actually went over. Out of the 11 variances, 2 were denied out of the 11. We went on, and the items that we handled today, all of these variances were on the consent calendar and approved by the full board. We also had the revision to Standard 22, patio and balcony covers. Those were items on our agenda. We forwarded it to the full board. Those were taken care of today. In addition to that, we have future agenda items. The revision to Standard 11A, flooring for second and third floor manners. This is a very complicated process because of the construction of our buildings. It's very hard to set a sound standard, a Berry standard, because the manufacturers of all these different floorings can't guarantee what the decibel rating will be because of the construction of our buildings. So that's been kind of going on and on, trying to come up with something so that we have a standard that can be used as an approximate, because there's no way we're ever going to be able to set a specific decibel amount. And again, that comes to, you're moving to a multifamily area. You need to be tolerant of your neighbors. Your neighbors need to be tolerant of you. And so that's the biggest factor, is that one person's sensitivity shouldn't affect other people's rights. And that's what people have to understand when they move to a multifamily community. And that's where so many of our problems arise in this community. Another thing that we're doing is the revision to Standard 41, solar energy systems. When we had that reviewed by legal, we got a 16-page synopsis of what had to be included. So that is on the workbench with all the different departments affected for their input, and then it will go to legal one more time where we can implement everything in one comprehensive standard. The next one is we're going to approve an addition of a responsibility agreement in Third's resale package. And it's because, again, with the water intrusion, all the hearings that we have, so many members come and say, I didn't know, I wasn't told, but they signed, they initialed that document that showed that they were responsible for the sins of the fathers, as it were. Any alterations, whether we know them or don't know them, that a previous owner has done, it becomes the responsibility of the new purchaser. And so that runs with your unit, and you need to understand that. So we're looking at putting a full page of that responsibility so there can be no doubt in the buyer's mind of what they're responsible for in the future. As far as that goes, the next meeting is inaccurate on our agenda. The next meeting will be September 9th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m., not 9:30 a.m. And that concludes.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, you have any updates regarding the Third Maintenance and Construction Committee, Reza?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Reinhardt asked me to present the following information as far as the committee. The committee met on July 1, 2024. Several items have been discussed. The first one was a plan to possibly defer the paving of the streets and only do sealant for 2 years, which need, move to full board for any final decision. Second, the committee reviewed and soliciting bids for epoxy coating pipes in GVA building, which include looking at pipes replacement as an option. And the other item is the committee requested going out to get bids for sidewalk concrete repair due to the staffing issues. The next meeting is September 9 at 9:30 because that's why Jim moved it to 1:30.
Okay. All right, thanks, Reza. Next, we'll hear about the Landscape Committee. SK?
Thank you. It was my first landscape meeting, and the third Mutual Landscape Committee meeting was held on August 1st, 1:30 p.m. in this boardroom. Department head update for the project log, tree works, union workers training, quality report, and KPIs. At the end of the update, staff proposed a clipping container change from plastic to foldable cloth container, and landscape committee approved. Now, committee discussed and considered the followings. Artificial turf guidelines and standard was approved and submit for third board approval. As we know, we approved today. Residents who wanted to install artificial turf now have to go through the landscape alteration procedures. Another item, third mutual fruit tree policy was reviewed for the purpose of reminding all third mutual residents that the planting of the fruit tree is prohibited. There have been more instances of the fruit tree planting in third mutual area lately. Staff noted that compliance department will send a compliance letter for fruit tree policy compliance to those who planted since the rule became effective. Another item, staff explained PPRP, which is paint project related matters, process. After PPRP discussion, committee approved the staff recommendation to remove current existing non-approved landscape alterations around 4003 building, which is LH21 building area, due to potential liability issues. However, landscape staff will work with any residents who wanted to save their own landscape items to get landscape alteration approval after paint program is completed. Another item is notification of post-paint program is completed and building area, affected building area is 3312 through 3325, which is in progress. Another item, landscape department will have a communication meeting for Gate 11 residents on August 11, 5 p.m. at Clubhouse 2. I assume that was happened. Landscape will set up a meeting for Gate 14 residents prior to commencement of the work of 4003 building for PPRP program. MNC crews are currently working on building 4001 and 4002. I visited those places many times, and all the landscape items pretty much damaged so far. And also, I noticed that some issues I can see that I notified to MNC department head. Landscape needed to have a public notice of 4-step PPRP methodology for all our third residents to make sure that our residents fully understand the extent of the project and procedures. One additional note, on August 6th, a closed meeting was held for the purpose of landscape department efficiency evaluation by Monarch. In the meeting, Monarch interviewed all 3 landscape committee directors and advisors. Monarch will send a final department efficiency analysis report after it completes all interviews they planned. Our third landscape committee next meeting is scheduled on Thursday, September 5, 9:30 a.m. in this boardroom. Thank you.
Thank you, SK. Jules, do you have any updates regarding the Water Conservation Committee that you want to share?
Yes, I do. Can
Great.
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. the water committee meeting was canceled because VMS staff refused to produce water bills that I requested. They were intended to be shown to a water conservation expert who had offered to review the bills and suggest programs that could provide credits and subsidies for if we adopted water conservation programs. The next meeting is scheduled for October. Hopefully, in the meantime, staff will alter its attitude about sharing non-confidential information with generous folk who offer free advice. Let me also explain my no vote on committee assignments. I had sent in the comment, but apparently my intention was not successfully communicated. My bad. As I continued to be excluded from the 3 committees as to which I have some competence, I voted no on the resolution. Thank you.
Thanks, Jules. Appreciate that update. Next, we have the 3rd Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. This committee last met on Tuesday, July 23rd. During that meeting, the committee discussed the process for tracking and managing lease requests if and when Third Mutual exceeds its current 30% lease cap. We're not necessarily getting close. We're around 29% or so, and kind of goes a little up, a little down depending upon the day. But we just want to make sure that staff is ready to implement a smooth, consistent, communicated process if and when we get to that point. This committee also discussed potentially reducing the lease cap from 30% to 25%, but no decisions on that change was made. The committee will next meet next Tuesday, August 27th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom, and we plan to continue our discussion regarding the process for tracking and managing lease requests if and when Third Mutual exceeds a 30% lease cap. We also plan to discuss Third's rules for board meetings. The board approved those a month or two ago. We found a couple minor changes that we may want to pass through. And that's all I have for the 3rd Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. And for the last 3rd Mutual Committee, we have the Garden Villa Rec Room Committee, SK.
Yes, thank you, Mark. 3rd Mutual GVA, Garden Villa Association Recreation Room Subcommittee meeting was held on July 24th, 1:30 p.m. in this boardroom. Staff reported 2024 project status and 2025 budget and the detail as follows. A, reported all of scheduled 2024 Garden Villa Recreation Room components are either repaired or replaced, and it is now 99% completion, almost done. B, 2024 GVA Recreation Room non-program components, which is coming from reserve fund. 1, completed heat pump and epoxy flooring. 2, water heater replacements are in progress. 3, window replacements are in pending or subject to quotation. My comment of this, water heater replacement, I ask staff to review water heater to make sure it's time to replace it. If it's okay, let's use it until it breaks down. And the second item is a window replacement. I visited all 5 Garden Villa Association rec room window, and 3 of them were somewhat pretty bad, and 2 of them were pretty good. So I asked staff to review to make sure we replace where we need, so we can save some dollars. Committee reviewed the Garden Villa replacement component lifespan schedule and requested to expand the lifespan of the components as long as each component can hold wear and tear reasonably. Committee reviewed the subcommittee charter to change to committee, and the staff will submit a 3rd board approval. And one note that one of the advisors stated that the change is long overdue. Now, last item is 2025 Garden Villa Recreation Room proposed project. One, HOA surcharge is $97,502, which is remains same as 2023. My goal is same as the previous year or reduced. 2025 expenditure program is $83,473.56 cents. So 2025 remaining will be $14,028.44 cents. So we will remain $650 as last year, this year. Next, the GVA Rec Room Committee schedule is on November 20th, 2025, 1:30 p.m. in this boardroom. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, SK. That's all we have for third mutual committees. Now we'll move on to agenda item 13, where we will share our monthly GRF committee status updates, starting with the GRF Community Activities Committee, or CAC. SK, you're on again.
Yes, Community Activity Committee, CAC meeting was held August 8th in this boardroom, 1:30 p.m. It was my first meeting that I attended. Last Mark assigned me to CAC committee. In this meeting, committee discussed the following. Ms. Gigilio, director of the rec department, reported activity in July, an update on Clubhouse 1 renovation progress. Number two, Ms. Murphy, manager of rec department, reported the summer day activity and update upcoming August activity. Tom McRae, manager of a rec department, reported on golf course condition during the hot summer days, and he updated the status of garden centers. Committee discussed golf fee recommendation approved by finance, provided by finance, and recommended to full board approval of option B, which is $1 increase. Committee reviewed members' request of extension of feasibility study of our pickleball court. A pickleball chair ladies presented their membership trend of increase and estimated the projections up to 2030. CAC committee approved and submitted for full board approval of 45,000 court expansion study. 45,000 is lots of money. I approved it, but still I feel that is too heavy to just for the expansion study. Next, the CAC meeting is scheduled on September 12th, 1:30 p.m. in this boardroom.
All right. Next, we'll get an update regarding the GRF Disaster Preparedness Task Force.
Yes,
Also,
it's short. The Disaster Preparedness Task Force Committee was held on July 30th at 9:30 a.m. in this boardroom. In that meeting, committee discussed many agenda items and discussed as follows. Security staff reported that radio antenna finally will be installed after approved by board. Quotation is in progress after almost 3 years discussion. Very efficient board action. Number two, staff announced that DPTE Expo will be held Clubhouse 5 on October 8th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's another activity in October 17th for earthquake, what do you call, I can't remember what that was. Yeah, shakeout program. And the third item is Jacob Green Association present its plan to perform a disaster preparedness gap analysis for Laguna Wood Village after he finished at the City Hall. Next, the DPTF meeting is scheduled on September 24th, 2024.
All right. You're on a roll, SK. What can you tell us regarding the GRF Mobility and Vehicles Committee?
Yes. Meeting was held August 7th, 1:30 p.m. in this room. In the meeting, we discussed about 3 village transportation program and each route cost analysis, all based on 2023 ridership. First, total transportation cost was $18.66 per trip based on 582 trips. That equate to $11.43 p.m. Fixed route is $15.81 for 80,461 trip. That equate to $8.32 p.m. Journey ridership, $54.83 for 6,356 trips, which is quite high, $2.28 p.m. Booster program is $18.62 for 6,765 trips, $0.82 p.m. Journey program, that is a curb-to-curb transportation service for medical need. That's why it costs $54.83. And the Booster program is contract program with the Lyft company. Next, the MNV meeting is scheduled on Wednesday, November 6th, 2024. Thank you.
Okay, looks like Moon has a question or comment.
Yeah. I'm the member of the committee, and so does Ellison from the United. One of program or rider, Ellison calculated and I calculated pretty similar. When you call for one rider, it costs more than $400 per rider for them. So GRF are providing that excellent service. So Ellison and I argued that is a bit too much. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. All right, next we'll get an update regarding the GRF Landscape Committee. Reza?
Thank you. The GRF Landscape Committee met on August 14. Several items have been discussed and reported. GRF Committee met with Matt Davenport of Monarch Environmental Inc., who is conducting a performance review of the Landscape Department. The turf reduction began on the slope of Clubhouse 6, which will keep the mower from sliding down the hill and staff safer. Staff is also refurbishing the front of the Clubhouse 6. The Aliso Creek permit expires soon, and the staff is working on the new permit. Cleanup was just completed last week. The charging station wall in the yards is complete, and the landscape department is working on switching to electrical equipment. Concept design were received for the entry gates landscaping. Comments were returned to the architect. We are now waiting on the construction and drawings. The next meeting will be on November 13 and 1:30.
Good. Thanks, Reza. While I have you, what can you tell us regarding the GRF Maintenance and Construction Committee?
Yeah, according to Director Reinhardt, there is no report on that, and I assume that the Clubhouse 1 definitely was discussed, the reopening of Clubhouse 1. The next meeting is October 9 at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, good. All right. What's new regarding the GRF Broadband Ad Hoc Committee? You already did that.
The Broadband Committee met on July 24th, 2024. They're closed meetings. Our itinerary here shows that the next meeting is September 11th. That's not actually correct. The next meeting is Tuesday, August 27th, 1:30 p.m. Just a little bit of an update. This committee has been going on for approximately 2.5 years We are getting towards the end of what is being done, so hopefully there will be much more communication from within these closed meetings that'll be open meetings. There will be 2 other meetings where we will be hearing from possible entities that may take on the task, and those meetings will be on September 11th and September 12th. So sometime after September 12th, there will probably be information dispersed to the community as a whole.
Thanks for that update. Any updates for us regarding village traffic hearings, SK?
Yes, I do. A closed traffic hearing was held July 17th, right after our board meeting, 9 a.m. in this boardroom. In the traffic hearing, 6 violations were heard, and the result are as follows. First, failure stop, by far the most violation, 1 guilty and fine, 1 guilty and double fine due to repeated violation. 1 park on landscape, guilty and fine, that fine was double as well. 1 park obstructing access, guilty and fine. 1 expired registration is guilty and fine. And 1 no chalk violation at RV parking lot A, that was a guilty and fine. Next traffic hearing is scheduled on August 21st, which is tomorrow. 3 violations will be reviewed. Thank you.
All right, thanks, SK. Regarding the GRF Information Technology Advisory Committee, this committee, known as ITAC, is made up of directors from GRF, United, and Third boards, as well as VMS IT staff, and is overseeing the development and implementation of the new village-wide computer system. Dynamics 365, which is a Microsoft-based, cloud-based application developed to support large organizations, is what is being configured and implemented for the village. The first phase of Dynamics 365, otherwise known as ERP, will focus on our financial and key back-end functions. As Siobhan mentioned earlier, the first phase is currently scheduled to go live in September. In fact, it's going to plan to go live over Labor Day weekend, meaning that it will be live 2 weeks from today. The production environment is all set up and ready to go. Then the team is performing practice go-live scripts to make sure that they're ready to go live over Labor Day weekend. If nothing goes wrong during the final 2 weeks of testing, when you hear from me next at the September board meeting, I'll be able to let you know that everything is up and running. The ITAC, which is a closed committee, is scheduled to next meet on Friday, August 30th. And finally, the following GRF committees have not met since the last third board meeting of July 16th, and so there are no updates for these. The GRF Media and Communications Committee last met on July 15th and is scheduled to next meet on Monday, August 21st at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The GRF Security and Access Committee last met on June 26th and is scheduled to next meet on Wednesday, August 28th at 1:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. And finally, the GRF Space Planning Ad Hoc Committee last met on May 1st, and its next meeting is to be determined. And that concludes our committee reports. We're now at agenda item 14, which is...
Mr. Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We missed an agenda item, which was 12F, the GRF Finance Committee.
Oh, did I? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Meeting met on July 29, 2024. Considered golf fee recommendations, traffic fee recommendations, RV fee recommendations, and pricing rates for electrical vehicle charging stations. And next meeting of the committee is on August 21, 2024.
Okay. I think that was an out-of-schedule meeting. That's why I may have missed it. My apologies. All right. So we're at agenda item 14, which is for the board to note any items they would like to be discussed at a future board meeting. So far on our list, we have 5 items that today we discussed and put onto 28-day member review and comment period, including the artificial turf guidelines and standard, a revision to standard 22 for patio and balcony covers, And the rescinding of Standard 29 for solarium, Standard 37 for patio and balcony awnings and covers, and Standard 38 for patio enclosures. Are there any other items that any board directors would like to be considered for a discuss at a future board meeting?
Is the traffic rules going to go on the future agenda since we send it back, or that we just keep it off?
It'll come up as it comes up from the committee.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to add consideration for approval of a resolution to request that the GRF board have its corporate members vote on the current proposal for Building E. So we'll put that into our next agenda prep meeting, and we'll talk about that next month, in the September board meeting. Okay, seeing no more, we're now at agenda item 15, director's comments. Any directors have any final comments they'd like to share with the board or our members? SK?
Nope.
Okay, Jim?
No.
Chris?
No, thank you.
All right, David? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Jules? Mhm. Jules, any final comments? All right. Ira, any final comments?
No, not for board. Sorry, I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button.
No problem.
I have no comments. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. Moon, any final comments? Okay, all right. All right. Okay, the business of our open meeting is now completed. Third Mutual's next monthly board meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 17th at 9:30 a.m. here in the boardroom, as well as on TV6 and Zoom. At this time, 12:10 p.m., this monthly board meeting will recess for 20 minutes, and then the executive committee will reconvene to executive session. Thanks to those of you who participated, and thanks to everyone for listening. And with that, we are adjourned, or recessed.